how's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at Freddy vs. Jason. This is from 2003, directed by Ronny Yu, who you guys may know as the director of Bride of Chucky. This movie stars Monica Keena, who we had saw recently on this channel in the Night of the Demons remake. That's pretty cool. We also have Jason Ritter, and of course, Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger, and as Jason, Ken Kirzinger. And I have to say, first, we need to set the scene for this one. Freddy vs. Jason is a movie they'd been talking about making since the 80s, and it was stuck in development hell for quite some time. They went through a bunch of different scripts, and there was a bunch of different deals that fell through. And you have to also keep in mind that this was pre-Marvel Cinematic Universe. Crossovers are super duper common now, but back when this came out, boy, was this such a big deal. And after a lot of work, they finally got it off the ground, and it's a miracle this movie actually got made. And I definitely have some problems with it, but that being said, I'm super glad we actually got it, because we're so close to living in a world where this thing never happened, and it would have just been one of those things you heard people talk about, and people say, oh man, if only they made it. And when this movie came out, it turned into a pretty big cheese fest, I'm not gonna lie. This is a silly, over-the-top movie. It really does have the feel of an early 2000s horror movie. For example, the dialogue in here is really bad. Some of the lines are super cheesy, and also some of them are very expository. If there's anything that's even remotely confusing, there'll be a character saying what's going on, so don't worry, you'll be able to follow it. But we also have like a ton of wire work whenever there's a fight sequence in here, and this is at times almost an action movie. People will go flying into a wall because we have wires, and dang it, we're gonna use them. We also have a ton of CGI in here from 2003, so it doesn't all age gracefully, and the weird flowing CGI combined with the wire work really gives this movie a feel like it's not real. You know, everything's way too smooth and everything flies way too easily. It doesn't feel super real or grounded. And also, as far as the lore goes, major points off for that as well. This movie basically ignores Freddy's dead, and at the end of the movie gives each character a weakness that they blatantly didn't have in the series before. I get you wanted to come up with something they could use to fight against each other, but you can't tell me that they've had these weaknesses when we've seen on screen before that they really didn't care at all for these things in the past. That does irk me. But I will say, it is a versus movie, and you do actually get that. Freddy and Jason are going to fight each other for a lot longer than Batman and Superman ever did. And they really go to town, they really go at each other. And it is really cool to see these two horror icons share the screen, and everybody gets their moment to shine. It's big and over the top and cheesy. And if you want a cheese fest, this is a cheese fest. Now, that being said, would I have rather had a better movie? Of course. I mean, this would also not just be the big crossover event, but this would actually wind up being the final film in both the main continuities of Friday the 13th and A Nightmare on Elm Street. So it's a crossover and a finale piece. That's pretty cool. I do want it to be big and epic, but I kind of want it to be big and epic in more of a serious way, you know? I would have rather had a movie that was actually scary. I would have rather had a movie made when these two were in their prime. You know, if we got a version from the 80s instead of the feel of an early 2000s movie. And of course, I would much rather have Kane Hodder in this movie, who is sadly missed. I mean, the new guy does a good enough job, but you gotta admit it, we do all miss Kane Hodder, and it's sad that he didn't get to be in this, especially he was one of the biggest people wanting to do it. So it's a case of, I'm glad we got something if you're in the mood for a cheesy movie, and if you do want to see a film that focuses on being more spectacle than horror, but the spectacle is kind of cheesy and doesn't age well, this is really good popcorn and friends type of stuff. But yeah, I really wish it was better, but hey, at least we got something. So you can watch it, enjoy it. You just kind of have to say it is what it is, and have to also acknowledge that this actually getting made was a super big deal. So even though it didn't come out perfect, at least we got it, and at least it does some stuff right, you know? But I guess in order to analyze it further, let's take a bit of a look at the plot. I'm not going to do any major spoilers, but I do want to analyze and break down a few things. I'll be avoiding the end bits, so no major spoilers, but let's dive in a little deeper. We open up with Freddy Krueger explaining who he is. You know, I said there was some clunky exposition. While it is cool to hear Robert Englund talk, he is explaining everything you need to know from the ground up, and yeah, it's basically a previously on. We get to see who exactly Freddy is and what his deal is, and then he'll talk about finding Jason. And basically, Jason is in hell, but it's like his own little slice of hell where he just fantasizes about killing people all day. So he's doing fine. It feels more like the dream world, but I guess it's supposed to be hell. Whatever, he's killing people, all happy, and Freddy says Jason can't die. He just sleeps for a while and then comes back, which I thought they did everything right at the end of Jason Goes to Hell. Why is he still immortal? And never mind that. Freddy disguises as Jason's mom and says, you need to wake up because I have a mission for you, Jason. I need you to go to Springwood and start killing people for me. Now, why does Freddy want Jason to do this? Well, it turns out that people don't believe in Freddy Krueger anymore, and without their fear, he has no power. This would be a great plot if we were doing Candyman versus Jason, but this has never really been a Freddy Krueger thing. I mean, if you look at the original Nightmare on Elm Street, Nancy and her friends didn't know who Freddy Krueger was, but he was totally powerful enough in that movie, so I don't really know where they're pulling this from. And also, yes, this is not how they defeated Freddy Krueger at the end of Freddy's Dead, which was supposedly what killed him. So we're just getting a totally different reason for Freddy being killed for no reason. I don't know why they switched it. Again, whatever. We then cut to a bunch of partying teens, and yeah, the teens here are super stock and generic, with everybody getting basically one trait and being a bit of a caricature and delivering some cringe-worthy lines, but whatever. Our main girl is going to be named Lori in a super distracting Easter egg. I get it. The girl in Halloween was named Lori, and they say Lori so many times I was starting to expect Michael Myers to show up. You know, I appreciate Easter eggs, but there is a limit. Whatever. Lori had a boyfriend in the past. He moved away and disappeared without a trace, and her friends are trying to set her up with someone new at this party. Well, at the party, someone gets killed in a bed by Jason. Earlier in the movie, you had the narration, which kind of set you up for what kind of movie this would be, but then you get Jason grabbing this bed, folding it in half with his bare hands, and you're like, okay, this is going to be a cheese fest. But not only did Jason kill someone in their beds, it turns out Lori actually lives at the Elm Street house, so people are going to start to talk. And I love how you find out the cops did this massive cover-up to the point where they're like blacking out documents, yet whenever they see one kill, they start to go, Do you think it's Freddy Krueger? Just saying it loud enough for all the kids to hear. Are these masters at covering things up or amateurs? The movie doesn't really know. But of course, now Freddy Krueger has Bye-Bye Man powers, and once the main girl hears his name, that's going to let Freddy into her dreams to wreak some havoc and eventually gain his powers back. But we also have this other plot where it turns out the boyfriend was sent to the asylum because he was one of the Elm Street kids that couldn't forget about Freddy. Yeah. What? Like, okay, so these cops have like Illuminati level powers to whisk you away to an asylum where you'll never be heard from again? Okay, these cops are way too powerful, but whatever. Him and another Elm Street teen escape, and they provide a bunch of exposition, eventually realizing, oh, we shouldn't have provided that exposition because we inadvertently made Freddy more powerful. And while we're on the topic, yeah, these kids are disposable, but also, why are they there? Didn't Freddy's Dead say that Freddy Krueger killed all the kids in Springwood? How are there more kids? Yeah, well, Freddy died in a different way in this movie. I guess Freddy's Dead isn't canon to this. Whatever. We do get some fun sequences. We get a cornfield sequence and we get a sequence in this asylum. And then when we get to the end of the movie, that is a big sequence. As I said, Freddy and Jason do fight each other and they do really wreck up the place. So if you want a cheese fest and if you want horror action, this does have that for you. So we do actually get the fight. We do get some fun, cheesy moments. It actually happened, and we do get both of them on screen together. There is some cool moments, but again, you don't care for any of the teens. The plot is a little convoluted and does kind of feel like a fan film plot, and there is a bunch of bad dialogue and a bunch of exposition, and too much wire work and too much bad CGI. There's a lot that doesn't work for this. As I said earlier, I would rather have a good scary movie, but again, at least we got something, and if you're in the popcorn campy movie mode, you can have a ton of fun with Freddy vs. Jason. So overall, it's fine, and I'm glad it happened, but yeah, I do really wish it was better. Anyway though, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. If you guys want to see me talk about more slasher movies, you should be able to find them there. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist here. Have a good day now.